Okay. I am very happy to see everybody. I'm so grateful. And just a recap. I know ITAC 4 has been a wonderful experience for almost everybody out there. And I just so enthused. I just wanted to begin. Have you folks seen the video links I've sent?
I saw a little.
Okay. I just need a feedback from the video.
So I think I sent an email about an hour ago-ish, about 2 o'clock, with some extra information for everyone that Peter sent over, some context about Ghana and the landscape that he works in. So there was a video that some people may have had time to watch and some may not have. Has anyone else other than Tony had a chance to have a look at that?
No.
No, I know it was quite short notice, so don't worry if you haven't. Maybe Peter, it would be good to explain the overall ideas in the video.
Okay. I have watched a lot of videos, but that video really, gave me the opportunity to have an in-depth knowledge about what is happening here in Ghana. It was the Comfort International non-profit organization that put that across, and it showcased what actually is happening in this country. It has to do with the NGO trying to bring the ladies or women back to track. I just want to know quickly, what is the ratio between 1 to 5? I just want to know from the various countries, girl child education in your various home countries. Is the ratio between 1 to 5? Are you having an issue with girl child education?
So do you mean, in our countries, do we have issues surrounding female education among young people?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, and did you ask for a number, 1 to 5?
Yeah, between 1 to 5. I want to know the ratio.
Sure. Well, I'm happy to start the ball rolling. In Scotland, we certainly don't face the same kind of issues as outlined in the video in Ghana. For us, it's not so much of a gender gap as it is a class gap as to whether or not people attain a certain level of education.
Oh, okay. I would like to put in something. In Ghana, our culture setting does not allow women, girls to be specific, to have formal education. Way back from the ancient days, we always have this notion that the kitchen is for the girl. So you see more of the guys going to school, and then the ladies are behind. It is now that modernization and some technologies are trying to bring up or give us exposure for a lot of girls to stand up now. But I think there is so more that needs to be done. Yeah.
Sure. What about our colleagues in the States? I see we have a couple of new people who've joined since we introduced ourselves, Alex and Lindsay. Do you want to just say hi quickly to everyone?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Alex Zacharias. I'm calling from Wisconsin, Green Bay, Wisconsin, in the United States. And sorry for being late. We have a major snowstorm going on right now, and I had to dig my way in. So I'm a teaching artist, and what we have is an after-school program at the Boys and Girls Club, where I teach filmmaking. I'm a professional filmmaker.
Wow. Great. Thank you. Lindsay, do you want to say hi?
Sure. Hi, I'm Lindsay. I'm calling in from Boston, Massachusetts. I'm really happy to be here. I'm a theater artist and a teaching artist and educator. Yeah, I'm really excited to talk with you guys.
Great. Well, just in case you missed it, the question Peter just posed was, he was describing the gender gap in education, as was said in describing the male-female divide in education in Ghana, and he asked if that's something we experience in our own country. Do either of you want to respond to that on behalf of US?
Sure. I think from my experience, it's not so much an access issue, at least at like the primary school level, but more of a representation issue in terms of where girls can see themselves represented in different fields, and the way that impacts what they see for themselves in their future.
Sure.
And my experience has been, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead. Am I on now?
Yeah, that's you.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I just saw somebody else on the screen. So my experience has been that it's been in waves. There's been some years where I've had one or the other, so it hasn't been consistent, and I really can't explain why that's so, at least in my situation.
Sure. Does that give you some context, Peter, as to where the rest of us are coming from perspective-wise?
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate the feedback. I'm doing this because I just want to take the opportunity to know what is going on in your home countries. Personally, I find this very alarming because you look at the men and the women. Women, from my perspective, are able to contain a lot, you know. So if you are able to educate the girl child, you are almost, bringing into perspective a huge, group of people, an army who are able to take care of things, you know. So I'm happy I've got the feedback from individuals. I just want to read something a little bit for those of you who didn't have the opportunity to watch the video. Comfort is an international non-profit organization tackling poverty and inequality, supporting girls to go to school here in Ghana. They are here to succeed and empower young women to step as leaders of change. Now, sadly, the fact remains that chronic poverty excludes many girls from education. Large numbers leave school to do kayayo. Here in Ghana, when you say kayayo, it relates to girls who have not the opportunity to go to school, or girls from vast, lands who are not really having the opportunity to get themselves enrolled in school. So they come to the big city, precisely Accra. You see them carry large pans and they live somewhere in the northern region of Ghana, the top there, and from other parts of the country. They come here to Accra. They don't have good places to sleep. They don't have good food to drink, and they carry huge things just to make sure they make ends meet. Now, some of these girls leave their homes because their parents force them into early marriage. And because they don't want to fall victims to this, they have to leave their homes and come here just to make ends meet. These are some of the reasons why in Ghana here, some NGOs or advocates try to make sure that they bring girls back to school. And that is what I do as a teaching artist or as a talent coach. My recent project was a project that is organized in Hohoi, one of the rural, towns in Ghana. They organized an event called Miss Hohoi's 2018, where ladies are given the opportunity to showcase their talents and their intellect. And that is why we realized that some of those ladies who contested were not having the opportunity to go back to school. So what we are doing right now, as I join some of the organizations, which Sedinam is also part of the project, is that we are trying to use the arts to educate the girl or to promote the girl child education in Ghana. So we are trying to use theater, we are trying to use, the visual and the performing arts to promote girl child education in Ghana. So those of you who were not able to see the video links out, I think Madeline will send it to you back later. You can check that later. So that's what we are doing here in Ghana. Sedinam will also throw more light on this as I talk to you. Over, Sedinam.
All right. Thank you very much, Peter. That was a awesome. It has been an issue in Ghana, and it saddens my heart whenever I see a lot of ladies out there. And me as a teacher, even in our teaching or when we're giving instructions, I think there is some sort of art in everything we do, because it's about arts. It serves as a vessel for what storytelling and conveys humankind's relationship with the environment. So a lot of people will want to go through the art to convey a lot of messages to the society at large. A lot of people will also love to go through the art teaching, just as Peter is doing as an art teacher. But then, as a distinguished, there are other things that needs to be done, which involves art, but not necessarily focused on the art teaching. In that regard, I always want girls to look at art to be an effective medium to promote education in Ghana. Because, as I said earlier on, for our history or our culture, it didn't allow the girl child to start going to school from an early stage. Let me put it that way. Yeah. In the olden days, it's only boys that go to school. It is now that modernization and technology has been able to give us the exposure, and you can see some going to school now. To add to what Peter said about the Kayayo, it is so like it's all over the city of Accra now. And these girls that we are talking about does not have shelter. It's not just about they don't have a place to sleep. Sometimes they have to sleep in the gutters. Some at the car parks without food. And you know, when this happens, they are being exposed to all form of social vices and violence, which is very bad. And it's also appalling. Yeah, so we actually have to get something going. We must get some models to be able to carve out this particular problem and get solutions to it. Yeah.
If I may say, I think what the commonality that I'm hearing that's unfortunate that globally there's always been a gender issue. You know, boys, girls, and we're all. I think we're in an interesting times where, fortunately, girls, women are starting to step up and have a voice. And I truly believe that the arts is one vehicle for that launch, if you will. So I agree. There are cultural embedded cultural biases towards women and girls, and I'm glad we're acknowledging that. And the question is, what do we do, and how do we do it? And for me specifically, how do I do it visually as a filmmaker? You know, help them tell their stories. But it can be any art form to tell their stories. So thank you for sharing that.
Madeline?
Oh, okay.
I just want to throw in a little bit of light. I was talking about my last project in the Volta region of Ghana, where we gave girls the opportunity to showcase their talent. Now, one of them, you know, is doing everything as much as possible to go back to school. I mean, to continue from the tertiary education. Now, as I talk to you, she's not having enough funds. Now, what did I do? I picked this girl, brought her to Accra, engaged her in a live theater production. The opportunity was to give her the platform so people can see her and then recognize how tough she is. I mean, how intelligent and talented she is, because we can't allow her to sit back home. So what some of us are trying to do is to use the live performances. It can be visual or the performing arts, to allow this for people to understand the need for the girl child to go back to school. And this is what we have started altogether.
Sure.
Oh, okay. Can I come in?
Yeah, you're coming.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I want us to look at how to improve learning through the arts. So we expose these girls to whatever it is they have to know, and then how to transfer the learning in and through the arts towards other disciplines, because we have other disciplines that I think we need to touch on as far as the girl child is concerned, but we can do that through the arts, and then how to discover and create understanding of human behavior and thinking skills to help these girls to be able to involve themselves in art experiences. Yeah, that's one of the things I would like us to look at. Yeah.
Sure. So that poses an interesting question about the most effective methods we find of, as artists in a participatory setting, engaging people, not just women, but I guess that's the topic of today, but engaging young people who may be disconnected from education via the arts. So I know that's almost all of our primary purposes, but I'd love to hear how some of you feed into that, and what methods or projects you've run that might speak to some of that.
Well, one project that we did is, unfortunately, there's here in the United States, there are women, single women with children that don't have the access to resources for whatever condition they're in. So I had girls in my class help go film their stories. So it was sort of creating a message, first to empower my girls that they can go out and help other girls and women by simply asking, by simply giving them a platform. So, so my vision was empowering girls to go out and help other girls using the art form.
Sure.
That's wonderful.
When I was in Chicago, in the United States, I worked on a mentorship program called Trailblazers, and we partnered with a settlement house, which in the United States is houses that have been created to welcome and help assimilate the immigrant communities that are coming in. And the longest running one in Chicago is the longest continuous running one in the United States is there. It's been welcoming people for over 100 years. We partnered with them, so we had free space. And what we did was starting to tell stories, and part of our projects were always to interview people from the neighborhood, so that while we were promoting a middle schooler's point of view, they had to see it in context with where they were and who they were talking to, and it created a multi-generational connection. We also partnered with parents who were able to contribute, and the local food bank, to always make sure there was food as part of it, so that a lot of kids after school, at least they would come because they were getting some food from the neighborhood, which was really helpful for getting commitment. And also created, because of the class divide is similar to Scotland, that's the access problem, that they were able to communicate across classes in strata, because usually, especially in a place like Chicago, people stay very separate. And so this was another opportunity for those who had more to bring. We had food, so it was this communal giving And so they were able to talk to each other across classes. We always had a majority female situation, and oftentimes when I work in the theater, it's always majority female. So it's a one unique space, I would like, other than their schools, where they are the dominant space. And so what we did was we started opening it up to younger people, so that those older girls, we would teach them how to lead workshops so that they became the leaders and saw themselves not as learners, but as people to like bring up the younger people.
Oh, great.
Did anyone else want to chime in on that? Tony, you look like you're about to say.
I just have a couple of ideas that are similar, I would say. One is I worked with one organization in our city that had all the students write plays, and there would be different organizations that we would partner with, including a homeless shelter, including a site for young women who were pregnant or had just had a child and had to leave their school for a bit. And we would work with them to help them write a play that really connected to an emotional truth that they understood, and that these plays would be then, and a conflict that they understood in their lives. And it was abstracted to be a non-human character to kind of help them be more free. And then these would be directed by, they would direct professional actors in their own play. And then many of those would go on to be faced to the public. There's another program at the organization I work for, Young Audiences, has done to try and help people who are underrepresented in certain arts fields get training. So one of those that works in Portland would be sound engineering for music, and having free programs for hoping to get a lot of women into the field, helping them engineer a live music production and learn the skills of that trade, which is not, I would say, I guess, not the music making itself, but part of the music industry, and kind of giving them that access and connection to other people in the field.
So interesting, because there's so many commonalities between what everyone's doing. Alex, I'm a filmmaker too. That's my background, filmmaking and theatre. And we did a very similar project, empowering people to tell their own stories by placing this camera in their hands. And Stephanie, what you said about mentorship and making people who maybe had marginalized voices previously suddenly the teachers, and empowering them to then be the ones imparting information rather than sort of being taught at, is interesting. It seems to be happening separately, but at the same time. It's quite interesting. Peter, did you have you had a mentorship program you just finished?
Yes, I just had a mentorship program. The idea is to empower artists in Ghana, but because of this topic, my focus has been on women or girls, the girls,
Sure.
You know, because I want them to have the voice, a strong voice, you know, where when it has to do with gender balance, I believe all are equal, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm very emotional and very passionate about this project, especially this theme or this topic, because I believe that we as teaching artists must do all that we can to use the performing and the visual arts to project girl child education worldwide. And to do that, I believe that this forum for us that's why, Madeleine, I give you the thumbs up with all other teaching catalysts here, because we are not here to give lectures. We are here to listen to one another and to borrow ideas. And my intent is that I believe that at the end of this conference, it's going to be an ongoing conference, ongoing learning process. So we need to learn from one another, you know, borrow ideas that can help us, you know, promote this very project. At the moment, my mentoring program, though I've just ended, I've started a new one. The idea is to collaborate with some other NGOs and some government bodies so that they can come together for us to use the arts to propagate this very topic. And that is what we're going to kickstart in February coming. And I will expect each one of you to freely, fetch me ideas that can help me, work on this massive project. Exactly.
You know what my mission is always to create that safe space as an artist, whatever gender, but for working with girls specifically, where they feel mentally and physically safe to tell their story. So I don't pretend to know how to do that exactly. It's a learning process, as I guess, as a male.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's important for girls to see a male artist, I think, acknowledging them as well, so it's a unique situation for me. I have 2 daughters, so they've been teaching me well.
Wow.
But yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with that sense of a safe space for them to do their art.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Okay.
When we do stories with young people, especially young girls, a lot of stuff comes up. Has anyone else been partnering with any social workers or therapists while they're making their space or find that need? Because we have.
In my situation, it's kind of unique. We have it's social emotional learning on top of teaching my art form. I have to go through a program dealing on if I don't helping to deal with emotional issues, whatever gender that is. But I think that's kind of crucial, or at least if I can't do it, being able to take them or guide them to a situation where they can get that help.
Because at the settlement house, we have access to a social worker, but that's not always the case when I'm a visiting teacher. So.
Sure. Peter, how does it work for you guys when you're dealing with young women who've been out of education or living in difficult circumstances? Do you have any contact with social workers or any kind of emotional support alongside the art form, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's not easy working with girls. Never easy. It's very complicated because if you don't take care, there are issues around it, So sometimes I'm able to get at least 2 social workers or psychologists, people who come in once in a while, not all the time anyway, to counsel me as to how to go about it. The fact that you are dealing with the arts, it doesn't mean me as a man I know everything, So I try to get people who do understand them well, and for me to work with them. My recent project, like I told you, I was working with the ladies. I have to be in the house with them. Sadie was there,
Yeah,
she was there,
yeah.
and she can tell you some of the things that we go through. It's not easy because you are a male and there are females all over you, and you need someone who can really understand them well, so you don't find yourself in trouble. So I do make sure I get 1 or 2 people with me who are able to guide me, to coach me, about ladies or girls. I do. Sadie, you want to touch on that?
Yeah, it's something else when it comes to girls, and especially girls from the African setting. There are a lot of things that we take for granted. We don't really care about a lot of things, unlike those in the European countries. So it's a bit difficult. But one thing I was happy about was that in as much as they were all in-house there, they have a resource person who visits them once in a while to talk to them. I think there was a medical doctor that was in the
Yes.
house to talk to them on how to keep their self, like their health issues. And then there was another one and some sponsor visits. I think it was worth it because a lot of things were touched on. And I was there to talk to them personally myself because per what they were doing, I've been through it before, and I've even gone to the higher level. So I was sharing my experience with them, and I was even telling them that with my foundation, I have an objective that I embark on. And then there was one of them, I was supposed to reach out to others in society to use their stories to empower other women out there. So I actually did a documentary on a 27-year-old mother of one who was into shoemaking. And then I interacted with her, and it was awesome. Sometimes we think we are limited, but I one thing I always say is it's all take determination. If you really want to do something, then you have to start it now because hoping for a better tomorrow it's just a saying. It's an active participant that must go with. If I want flowers in the future, then the planting must be done now. Yeah. So that was it. It was a bit um, difficult, but I think through it all, it was worth it. We might have learned something, and maybe next time we will know where to go and where to redress and be like, yeah.
So, Madeline, it's always a learning experience. You know, working in Ghana is different from working in Scotland. Though I've not been there before, but it's far, far different. You guys, you have a kind of freedom. You know, here you need to invest enough time to do orientation. You really, really need more time to give orientation and even to the parents of the participants. Because in the project,
Madeline, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Madeline, Madeline, I would like to say this. Unlike your culture, where children are like you are comfort, like you can just ask questions if you are not okay with something. Daddy, what is this? Why this? Why that? In my setting, we are not allowed to ask questions. Our culture doesn't allow that. So to high extent we feel intimidated and we cannot speak out or express our
express
views
easily.
e- easily. Even if something is bothering you, because you will be scared that an
Yeah.
elderly or someone will shout at you or will rebuke you, you just keep everything to yourself. So we have that low self-esteem. And the worst of all, the worst of it all is the girls.
Is
We
that
don't have a say in society. Like it has always been the girl, men stuff. And it's now that the girls too, we are trying to use a lot of models and to give them the exposure to be able to express themselves, because honestly a lot of them have low self-esteem. You can ask
exactly?
Peter when he was instructing them, some were even scared to come out with whatever they want to say. And it was so bad. I was like, you asked to do this, just for free. But they are kind of scared or shy or cannot express themselves because they are feeling, I don't know. But like it's a whole issue on its own. Yeah.
Yeah. You see,
In,
so that is
Yeah.
where
If I may come.
yeah, that
if I
is
may
where
share, oh, sorry. If I may
yeah. Go
share,
ahead. Go ahead.
one thing that I found myself in somewhat same situation. So I introduced journaling, like anonymous journaling for my introverts in my class, where if they had trouble expressing verbally, that they were able to at least write it down. And when they wrote it down, I invited them to imagine if you were telling a story. So it was a way for them to write their feelings in an imaginary story, and that kind of helped them express themselves.
Okay.
Oh, okay, that's nice. Yeah, yeah.
A similar.
So if I may come in, okay. If I may come in, like Sedi said in parts of the world in Ghana, she said all the things that are happening. Apparently, things are gradually changing. Organizations like mine, we are into training, advocacy, sensitization, mentorship, and counseling. What we seek to do is to empower these girls to know they are right, to be emotionally strong in order to be vocal, in order to come out, share what they have inside. Now, it starts with the family unit. The family units must know that they have a right and their children.
Sure. Yeah, powerful.
So they allow them to express their rights from the beginning. When they get to know that this is what they by doing this, the work becomes a bit easier for people like Peter who are working with them. They just need to be psyched up in order to give what is within them. I always say it starts from the family unit. So this is where we also have to contribute to sensitize, sure, to train, to mentor, and to counsel families, to counsel
parents.
The children on the streets. They need a lot of mentorship. They need a lot of counseling. They need emotional empowerment. It is very, very imperative for us to keep forging ahead, to empower them, to sensitize them, in order to make the work easy and make our world a better place.
Yeah, good. That's a big one, Precious.
Yes, welcome, Precious. I think you joined us a little bit later, so I'm not sure everyone. Yeah. You maybe want to say hello to everyone, but Precious has now joined us, also from Ghana, I think.
Yeah, from Ghana. Yeah. So you see, like Precious added to what Sedi said, you know, if you don't want girls to be intimidated, you bring them to the drama program where they can verbally and emotionally express themselves. Dance classes are also there, and various art forms are there for them. And that's what we are doing here in Ghana. But we are supposed to learn more. And that's why I said I'm so happy we are connecting with you, Madeleine, and everybody out there to learn from you. And as we share, I'm even putting down certain experiences from you guys that we can work on.
Sure, thank you. I'm conscious of time, and this was originally billed as 1 hour. It looks like we may go a little over, but if anyone needs to leave at the 1 hour mark and has a question for any of our colleagues here, feel free to ask the question now if you've got something burning in your mind that you'd like to say. Okay, I have a question. My question is to do with, Edinam, you said something about the fear that people have when they first come to the arts because you're brought up in a different culture to do with not expressing those feelings. And so I wondered, in getting people to sign up to the projects in the first place, how do you get over that initial fear of joining in, or fear of even coming into the art classroom or coming into the theatre set?
Apparently, I think we need to create the awareness. Maybe have to go call for meetings or some gatherings and talk to them about the benefits they can get as far as the art is concerned, because I believe the art can instill some sort of self-pride, and then the art will increase the opportunity for you to express yourself the way you want it, and then it develop real life skills in the sense that when you become a performer, a lot of the stories that we actually put on stage for everybody to see are things that happens around us. So through that, they become enlightened, and I think the exposure will help them enough to even talk to other girls. And I think it's all about creating awareness, and that's basically we need to create the awareness. If we have to go and do door to door or gathering them and talking to them, I think it's, for me, I think it's the way out as it stands now. Yeah.
Sure, thank you. Does anyone else have any? I'm conscious you'll all have come into this call with what you might like to learn or get out of it or hope to contribute. So I wonder if any of you would like to offer up what you hope that you would learn and how you feel now, or something you'd still like clarity on.
Well, you know what this confirms is I don't think I think wherever we're from, we need to empower girls, and how do we go about doing that? So I'm glad that I have colleagues that I can go to that are experiencing the same thing that I am, and it's just a learning process.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay, Alex.
Yes.
Alex, I have a question for you. When we talked about our girls getting intimidated and having low self-esteem, I think you came up with an idea. You said you use some model for them to write their feelings, or they have to write them down, and then I don't know whether they voice it. So I think if you can go through that once more again for me to really get what you mean by that, because I think you have a good idea in there. Yeah.
Well, in my program, it's youth voice is very important. So
Okay.
I am more of a person that tries to getting them from point A to point B, not telling them, but
Okay.
just kind of guiding them. And one way to do
Okay.
that is storytelling is so it's not intimidating. They could
Okay.
just use their imagination. I give them what if questions. What if there was this girl that was in this situation in the story? How do you think she can accomplish things or overcome things?
Okay.
And so it doesn't become, it's not really a direct question. It's sort of an indirect question,
Okay.
but that they feel comfortable enough. It's like, oh, well, just imagine this girl had a problem at home with her parents, and she was able to overcome. So it's sort of like an opportunity for self-reflection too, when they're writing these stories.
Okay.
So it's just
Sure.
a way for them to express themselves in a safe space.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. So they don't necessarily have to voice it out. By the end of the day, they write it down for you. Is that it?
Correct. So then what happens is, like,
Okay.
I'll just ask, hey, anybody got a good story? And then people will girls will raise their hand. Oh, I have a good story. So
Okay.
so that's sort of a safe way of doing it.
Can I add?
Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
everyone. I have to leave now that it's 11, but thank you so much for having me in here for a little while. It's great to talk with all of you.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Lindsay. I will email you afterwards with links to everything that we discussed. So thank you for joining us.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Can I add on a bit to the conversation that was just happening?
Yeah.
A couple of variations that I have seen have been just to take moments in the arts instruction where there is a time for an anonymous question, and the only rule is that everyone must write something, even if they write pass. So no one is singled out for having asked a question. So everyone puts a piece of paper in, even if it says nothing. And then there's an opportunity that slowly over time they can build a chance to express something they're curious about. Another one that I have used in a similar way is to distance it a slight bit from the personal, is to, the thing we just did together, if you were to give advice to someone, a new person who had never done it before, what advice would you give them? And kind of getting the idea starting that they have now experience they can pass on. And it also gives me, a leader, a little bit of a sense of where they were struggling and maybe I did not see.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's nice.
Alex, you also mentioned journaling, and for our non-American colleagues, that's writing in a diary your thoughts at the end of the day, correct?
Correct.
Yes, and doing that anonymously for yourself or for a teacher.
Correct. And then there's other forms of, sometimes I tell them, why don't you draw your story? Sometimes a visual storytelling is very powerful. So even if they're like stick figures, but, you know, essentially creating, you know, a story through drawing, through art. So I always make sure I have plenty of paper and pen and markers and colors all around me so that they're constantly doodling or those kind of things.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Well,
if I may come in to add to the journaling bit is a very powerful thing. It helps the girl or anyone that does it to express their true feeling. Once their true feeling is expressed, they can see it, read it, begin to imagine it. If it has to put into drawing, that is the visual art. I think that it is a way also to empower them when they are able to transfer their thoughts even onto paper in drawing, and it is appreciated. It's a plus because they get empowered. I have created something on paper and it has been appreciated. And so it boosts their self-esteem. It makes them feel that they have something to offer. So it's like a building block that makes them to start getting empowered, start of themselves, and the fact that they have a right. The journaling is good. The visual arts is equally important. Do the journaling, transfer it if possible onto a paper. Let it be appreciated.
Powerful. Powerful, Precious. So, Madeleine, a lot has been got in there within an hour.
yes. So that's, I think, us coming to the end of this session now. So again, I would like to just reiterate that we have recorded the audio of this. And if you are in any way uncomfortable or would like your audio taken out, you can email me afterwards and I'll remove that. Similarly, I think it sounds like there are some ideas being swapped about specific approaches to practice. And I wonder if I could have your permission to share with each of you the email address of everyone else who is on this call, in case you have follow-up questions or you think of something later, or you find some way you want to connect later down the line, just to leave that option open. So again, everyone's nodding, which is great, but if afterwards you would rather not, then again, email me and let me know. We will be having these think tanks once a month up until who knows when. So there'll be different themes each time, different hosts and formats each time. But if you would like to be registered for all of them or some of them, email me and I can do that. That's really all I have to say. Also, if you're on Twitter or Facebook or anything, tweet us or connect with us that way. Anything, I'll leave it to you, Peter, to close the session with your colleagues. Thank you very much from ITAC's perspective, because it's always an interesting chat when people get together. So thank you all.
Yeah, I'm so grateful, Madeleine and everybody. And Sefa Call, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much, Precious, for making time. And thank you all for making this possible. This is the maiden conference and it's been wonderful. Thumbs up, Madeleine. Keep up the good work.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah.
We'll speak to you soon, I'm sure.
Bye. Sure, bye.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.